Lockdown Lounge. I'm Belladonna.
And I'm Daniel.
And we are the Shields.
Shieldses.
And joining us today is Derek Ostovani. He is one of the nicest magicians you'll ever have the pleasure to meet. Thank you, Derek, for joining us. How are you today?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being across the sea. I'm doing well, living the dream. I've been pretty busy. Things have opened up here. It's still a little bit iffy. I just got an email tonight that another one of my shows might be canceling. So that's a bit worrisome. But they didn't mention quite yet. But I'll find out tomorrow. But I have had quite a few shows already canceled because of COVID. So I'm just fortunate that up to this point things have been in person and I've been able to get back out there again because I've been pretty busy.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
And so what's the weather like in San Diego?
San Diego, America's finest city. It's always sunny. It's always beautiful. It's been a bit warm lately, but that's okay because we're right by the ocean. And as a matter of fact, I've rented out a beach house next week that I'm going to be spending the week at. So that'll be nice.
Oh, very nice. So I have to say, I did find out that you were voted as the best hair in magic 3 years running. And I think I want to contest that because I think my hair is fairly fabulous. Thank you very much. So I might give you a run for your money. Look at that wave.
I thought she was going for a compliment my way for a second.
What's that?
I said, you've just changed your hair. What happened to the red?
Oh, no, that's my Shields' style. This is just the Belladonna.
Oh, okay. I like it. Okay. Yes. Well, you know what? I do have a run for my money. I am officially afraid.
Oh, dear.
If she starts beating you in the beard department, though, we'll probably have issues.
I got her beat on that one.
So your recent lecture on penguin magic was absolutely amazing. We found so many interesting things in that. But you also have a few other things on penguin magic, treasury and random odds. Is there anything else or at random odds? Or?
I have a set of notes on there, but those 4 items are the only things that I have out with penguin magic right now.
Yeah. Fabulous. So Derek, you were formerly a structural engineer. It's not something that we hear often in our industry, having such a big career behind you before you get into magic. So what made you make the jump from that into magician? And then what made you decide to go pro?
Excellent questions. So I was I decided I wanted to major in structural engineering before I ever found my love for magic. Yeah. And it was the summer before I was going to get accepted to university. And I just turned 21 and I went to Las Vegas and I then found my love and passion for magic. And don't get me wrong, I've known about magic obviously before as a child. I loved it, but I had no idea how to get into it. But I was in Vegas and I went to the magic shop and they showed me something and I instantly fell in love to the point where I came back to San Diego, went to my local magic shop, really discovered a whole new world and was so in love that I said hey, I know I'm on this pathway to major in this industry and get a job in the field and so forth and so on. But I'm so hardcore in love. I know that this is going to be part of my life forever. Mm-hmm. And my goal was I wanted to wean off the engineering and eventually do full-time magic. So eventually that came to fruition. So I was working, as a full-time engineer, did it for a number of years. And I was with a company that I thoroughly enjoyed, really liked them. With engineering, as you may or may not know, a lot of engineers, at least in the States here, don't have a big personality. But however, that company, I would say a lot of them, did have a good personality, one that I could vibe with.
Yeah.
And long story short, I I had to leave San Diego, and I was with this company, but I wanted to come back to San Diego. So I did, and of course I had to, find a new company. And I was with a company that I was absolutely miserable with. And so I decided, because I was already thinking about it, but I decided, I was like, you know what? I can either go and look for another company that maybe I like and maybe I don't. I can just go do what I know I love. And that's the
Yeah.
moment that I made that transition.
Okay, and I think that's the thing. Like, I mean, I used to do magic full time. It got a little bit harder there when the kids got to a certain age because their needs had to come first for a bit, and so I had to get a day job.
Sure.
But when you split your time up between working full time and doing magic part time, you don't really have the ability to excel in magic the way you would if you gave it your all.
Yes, no, that's right. That's right. I was fortunate that, so when I made that leap, it's not like I'd only been doing it for a couple of years. I had been doing it for about a dozen years.
Yeah.
So I had excelled, I learned a lot, I'd done a lot of shows, I had made a lot of contacts. So when I made that leap full time, it made it so much easier.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's important. You've got to lay the groundwork before you make that jump as well. Make sure that you've got a solid show, and you've got the flight time, and you've got the friends in the community that will help you if you need help in, critiquing your shows or offering you advice. Or, I mean, like, I know what your community is like up there, but if one of us can't take a gig, we'll typically message somebody else and go, hey, I can't do this gig, but I've referred you. Would you like to take this gig? So the support network there is, also critical to a full-time performer, I think.
It is 100%, and as you progress in magic, you do, like you said, you make those friends that you can trust, and they trust you, that say, hey, if I can't do a gig, I know so-and-so is going to do a good job, and, and I'm still going to walk away, and my name's going to be, held high because I recommended somebody of good skill and talent.
Yeah. So what challenges rather did you face, like, when you did make that transition? Like, did you find any particular challenges were a little bit harder to overcome than others? And if so, how did you overcome them, and what did you learn from that?
And another good question. Again, because I made this transition so many years, this, full-time transition, so many years into it, like, I would never recommend somebody, even if I was in high school and I said, I know that I want to be a full-time magician, I would have still gone to college, and I would have majored in things like business, psychology, and theater. Okay. You had that under your belt, even then, after I graduated, even then, I would still probably work for some kind of company to really understand the business side of things and get that practical experience.
Yeah.
And so, I had some of that throughout the years of working for different companies, and even as an engineer, I learned a lot about business, and in the end, it's really no different. Business is business. As a magician, I still write proposals. I still have client meetings. I still have to compete with, competition. The same thing as my company did as an engineer. But, some of the challenges I would say is, I did come from a seemingly stable career. And at the time I had a girlfriend, now wife, but she was a very serious girlfriend, and obviously any woman wants to know that they're going to be secure and taken care of. And so, I wanted her to know that, it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then the fact that I didn't know that I could make this leap and all of a sudden, make it or make a living. Even with my experience, I just had no idea what it was like to go full time and 100% depend on magic for my income. So just that idea, I think, was scary. It was something I had to overcome. And I did say to myself, I'm going to give it a year. And if I make at least as much as an engineer, then it'd be silly not to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest important things in our community that a lot of people forget too, is it's show business. The second half of that word is business. You need to have a understanding of business if you're going to do it full time. And even if you just go do like a basic course and you don't have any full business experience.
We live next to the
We live
main
next
road.
door to bikies. I don't know if you heard that big motorbike, but yeah, business is a very important aspect.
You guys are totally fun.
We hate those neighbours. I don't know what. I hope they're watching.
Are you guys kind of like in an apartment?
No, it's a house, but it's like right on the corner of the main road.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ah,
Actually, you brought up a good thing. So your beautiful wife, what's her name? Tori?
yes, she goes by Tori. Her full name is Victoria, which is what I call her. But yeah, most people call her Tori.
So she's not in the magic industry, obviously.
You said she's not in the magic industry?
No, she's not a magician.
That is correct. She is not a magician. Oh, yeah, it was a bit of a delay.
Okay.
But I can hear you just fine.
So I was wondering,
yes,
how does she put up with your neuroses?
I don't know. I think she's gotten a little bit used to me, and I've gotten a little bit used to her. She would say sometimes when we'd go out on dates, she would say, maybe we go out on one date that you don't bring your cards. And and it was tough with me because I that's all I had all the time, everywhere I went. And and then I miss her, and sometimes I don't have my cards and I just want to focus on her. So I think it's a little bit, she got used to me and I got used to her, of what her desires, and 2 years going strong.
I've always found it fascinating, like the dynamic between a magician and a non-magician in a relationship, because like yourself, like as a magician, it's an obsession. It's a part of your spirit and it's a part of your waking life and sleeping life. Like I will often wake him up at 2 o'clock in the morning while I'm sitting there on my phone writing notes about tricks that I've dreamt about, and he'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I've come up with a really good magic routine. I need to write it down before I forget. And I just can't imagine how a layperson will put up with the neuroses that a magician has for their art. Like we get very consumed by it, especially when we find a really good trick and we want to show it to somebody. And then you've got to practice it on them like 300 times.
It's true, and I try not to inundate her with it so much, because I don't want her to get bored with it. She's my biggest fan. Yeah. And I want her to love it, if I really need to perfect something, I will show her, and I'll make sure that she gives me some critiques. But I feel like most magicians really share things with their significant other, as far as how it works. And obviously you're both magicians, so that makes sense. Yeah. She's not, so I do keep her in the dark, just because I want it to be a mystery for her. But what she's very good at is the kind of the customer service side of things. So a lot of times I'll talk to her and I'll say, hey, reaching out to a client, they said this, I said that, what do you think? Or she'll look at my response email and she'll kind of tweak it. So she helps me in that sense, and it's fantastic. Yeah, that's wonderful. Did you want to talk, or are you just going to stand there?
No, I'm just going to stand here and look pretty.
You always look pretty, darling.
Well, it's a bit awkward. You've got the questions. There's always that little delay we've got going on.
I ask lots of questions.
Yeah.
I think you have one important question that you wanted to ask specifically for you.
Do you even lift?
That's really funny. You know that I've been thinking like, you know, I try to work out very regularly, and it takes so much of my time, and you know, it just makes me think like you can't do everything. You know, if I'm working out, then it takes away from my magic, and if I'm working on magic, it takes away from my wife, and and so forth and so on. It's just a vicious cycle, you know.
Yeah.
Only so many hours in a day, unfortunately, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's true. It really is. You know, I try to be balanced, but you know, it's kind of, I mean, they say this in everything. They say it's better to be really good at one, you know, one trick or one thing than, you know, 5 or 6, you know, you're mediocre at 5 or 6 things.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is you don't work out, but you still filled out that suit on your penguin lecture, which just fills me with an uncontrollable amount of rage, if I'm honest.
Daniel's getting very sensitive about all these good-looking magicians that are coming out.
I don't understand that, because Daniel's a handsome man. Look at those dimples. Look at those dimples. I don't have dimples. I wish I had dimples.
It's probably getting worse, like the insecurities, because we've been locked down for so long, and I'm in the worst shape of my life right now. It's terrible.
On his dimples, that was the reason why I said yes to the second date, because I said, how can I say no to those dimples? They're so cute.
Listen, man, coming from another man, I'm secure in myself. You're very handsome. You got a very nice smile. You got the dimples. I mean, come on. Take it from me, if not Belladonna.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And he's very good with his cups and balls.
I
And
bet
I'm talking about magic tricks, not something dirty.
Of course.
Oh, it's a good thing you clarified.
Thought I should. Oh dear. Yeah, so you your wife, she doesn't dabble at all in magic. Has she ever been interested in that respect?
No, she has not dabbled, and doesn't seem to have any interest in doing it. I will say there was a time, so I'm sure you two are familiar with the classic UFO card trick.
Yes.
Right. So that was actually the one card trick that got my start. That's the one I saw, and I was like, oh my God, I have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Were you
I
disappointed?
performed it. No, I wasn't. I think that's the thing about it, right? I think that's how you know, right? You're like, oh man, that is so clever. Right? That's how you know that you're not bummed out and disappointed by magic.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's not easy. Like, it's something that really takes work, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I had performed it for her, and when we were dating, we were up in San Francisco, where we were living at the time, or at least I was, and we had stumbled upon a magic shop, and she goes, oh look, that's the trick that you do. And she goes, can you tell me how to do it? I said, no. And she goes, I can go buy it for $20. And I go, yeah, that's what I did. So you're happy to go do the same thing. And of course she didn't do it, but I think right at that moment, she just like, that was the defining moment that like, okay, like, he's not going to tell me, he takes this very seriously.
Yeah.
I get it.
I think the most disappointing thing for a layperson, or even just somebody coming into magic, is when you discover the methods, because it really does change your perception of magic. And if you don't have that creative spark inside of you, it's really hard to recreate that magic for a layperson if you don't believe in its magic, you know. Yeah, I've bought some terrible tricks in my time. Like some really bad ones, and I'm just sitting there going, what the hell is this? I paid $30 for this. What is it? It's not what you think it is. And there's no way that they pull off the things that they say they do with that trick. I'm sorry, they don't.
Yeah, it's all camera angles and trailers.
We have probably half a garage full of magic that we'll never use because it's just impractical magic.
No, I agree with you. And it's funny because as magicians, what do? We create illusions.
Yep.
And we often fool other magicians in trailers, and ad copies because, I feel like we feel like we should trust our fellow magicians and magic companies that what they're going to put out is going to be a quality product at this point, day and age. But you're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes something looks great on camera, but it's really fooling, and you buy it and you're like, man, like I'll never use this. This is impractical. This is not realistic.
I think the worst thing was like when I first started coming into magic, I had the worst magician's guilt. And even now, I really have to focus like where I'm looking and my mannerisms, because sometimes I do get a little bit like, there's no way they're buying this. There's no way that I'm going to pull this off. I would tell you a story. So once I do a floating table routine, and I'm like a showgirl at heart. Like I have the biggest smile on my face, no matter what the circumstance, I will smile through it, right? And backstage, a dancer decided my floating table was a good place to lean on while she took her heels off. And she cracked the top of my table, right? So I had to, last minute, try and figure out how I'm going to fix this floating table because I'm about to go on stage and float something that's broken. So I had to pull a bobby pin out of my hair, stick it into the table and hope and pray that the top didn't fall from the bottom as I was floating it on stage. And I'm sitting there, I'm literally sweating, going, I'm going to look ridiculous. This table is going to fall apart and I'm going to be just floating the top of a table.
If we're honest, they'd probably still be impressed by that as well.
But it worked out, yes?
It worked out in the end, but yeah, I think that was actually a good moment in my life because I think from that moment on, my magician's guilt was never as bad as what it was before that point, because yeah, that really shocked me to my system. I'm like freaking out, thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. Because that was the first night I was blending 3 different levitation effects. So I was doing a table, I did the Sanders bubble, and I floated myself with I don't know if you're familiar with the Mendelian levitation. Mendelian levitation, I think it's called.
Yeah, I believe so. Is that you have like a big thing around you and then your feet go off the platform?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was already nervous about doing that because that was my first public performance with that particular trick. And I was blending 3 different levitations as well. So I was like freaking out so bad. And yeah, went off without a hitch. So
but you were creative, you MacGyvered your way out of it. And I mean, there's not a single magician out there that hasn't had some kind of a nightmare story, but you learn from it.
Yeah, you do.
I quickly learned when I started doing magic that lay people barely see anything, because I started busking, probably a little bit too soon, and there was a couple of card flashes and whatnot, and I immediately look up at the person with this look of horror on my face, and they're just blank face going, and then? Yeah. So it's easy to, well, I wouldn't say easy, but a lot of stuff does fly past the lay person, and yeah, that really got me over the nerves and magician's guilt early on. And the nerves is a big one. Once you realize if something goes wrong, a lot of people won't notice anyway, or if you just act like it's supposed to happen. Yeah, that's not a good one. You actually pull the wrong card out of the deck after you find them their card, and they go, "That's not it." No, which one was yours? No, palm it off. No, it's in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. People ask me all the time, how long did it take you to be able to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I tell them, it took me a year of solidarity, being by myself, practicing before I did, would show anybody. But then it really took me, I would say, a good 5 years before I really felt comfortable to take on anything. And to your point, when something goes wrong, you're quickly to fix that because they don't know what's coming. And maybe in year 2 you'd be so nervous, you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I messed up, and you try something else. But year 5 I was like, man, I got this, no worries. In my pocket, my other pocket, in my mouth. everywhere.
Yeah, I remember one of the worst things that happened was I did a 3-card selection, and when I did my shuffle, I actually lost all 3 of the cards, and that was a nightmare to try and on the fly come up with 3 different ways to produce a card. But yeah, I think it's times like that you learn that you can do anything. You know, you just have to not panic.
You guys are very lucky though with your,
You-
because you're doing close up, you have lots of outs. Like if something goes wrong, you have another deck of cards, or you have another way to wow the audience and make them forget about that. A lot of the time with stage magic, if you mess it up, there's not very many outs from that. Like it's a completely different ball game, I think.
Like that stage show we saw not too long
Oh
ago.
dear, don't
We won't
mention
get
it.
into that.
Don't mention it.
That's a good point. You do have a lot more outs in close to magic than you do on stage.
Yeah.
So as someone who did get into magic a little bit later, I also got into magic relatively late. I was like 27 when I started doing magic. So, you know,
Oh,
6 or 7 weeks ago.
I was gonna say, yeah, you just got into it about a year ago.
No, so it's been almost 10 years, but one of the things I found hard getting into magic as an adult was there was just so much stuff out there and I really didn't know where to start. So if there's anyone watching this who needs a little bit of advice, is there anything you would recommend that an adult beginner should get into or point to start at?
You guys have fantastic questions, and that's an excellent one. You know, I started magic when I was 21, so I've been doing it for almost 17 years now. And now, like you said, man, like, dude, people are inundated. Every week there's like 3, 4, 5 things that are coming out, like I said, on a weekly basis. Like, where do you begin? And, you know, I started, like I said, 17 years ago. And I think that was a solid time to start, right? Because downloads didn't exist. There wasn't things coming out every week. But books were still available. But then also like the new thing of like videos were available. And so I would totally recommend, if somebody's getting into magic now, I don't recommend YouTube. You know, I don't recommend these single downloads. I would love to say to start the same way I started. And maybe I'm being biased. I don't know. But I mean, the L&L videos, the Michael Amar series, you know, the Bill Malone series, like, were fantastic. And I would definitely,
Card College was excellent.
Card College, I was just about to say, you know, combine those, you know, do those in conjunction with books, you know, and figure yourself out. Figure out what you like, what you're good at, what fits your style. And then you can kind of, you know, go into the individual downloads and, you know, all the new gimmicky stuff, kind of things like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we're just revisiting ourselves the Tarbell collection. So we're starting from the first one all the way through.
Yep.
We just started, what was it, the coins?
Coins.
Coin handling.
It starts off with coins. Well,
Wow.
it starts off with a bit of theory at the start and then it goes into coins.
Yeah.
But we're doing it in 2 phases. So we've got the Tarbell books, and then we're also going through Dan Harlan's complete Tarbell series on painting.
Yeah.
So
Because he adds a few little tidbits in there, like modern magic sort of tweaks, and yeah. So I think it's a really good thing for people to invest in as well.
there's a lot of hidden gems in Tarbell as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I think also
Yeah,
watching
there is a
Penguin,
lot of gems in there.
yeah, Penguin live lectures I think is also a really good way for people to kind of explore.
Yeah, I've seen this really good one recently. What was his name?
Derek.
John Armstrong. That's the one.
John Armstrong's one was all right. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, you know, the Penguin lectures are great because, you know, it gets, you know, they get a lot of magicians on there that come from different experiences and pathways and walks of life, and everyone does things differently, you know, and so, you know, people have different takes on things that are out there or classics, and so it's nice, these different subtleties.
Yeah, it is.
Now, I've spoke to some magicians about Penguin lectures, and the reputation they have is the quality varies wildly. And,
Mm.
you know, I wouldn't say any of them recently have been particularly bad, but I think the last couple there has been an uptake in quality, and that includes yours. It was definitely one of the standout ones that we've seen in the last couple of months.
Yeah, definitely.
And that might have something to do with your presentation and your personality. You know, you are vibrant, and that adds to the enjoyment of a lecture.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. That means a lot to me. You know, I wish that I was able to have an audience, you know, because of COVID, I didn't. I feel like a lot more of my personality would have come out with an audience, but
Yeah.
I hope you guys still enjoyed it nonetheless.
Yeah, I think I feel so bad for you guys, like not having an audience, especially like for such an honor, like doing a Penguin Live Magic lecture. So just out of curiosity, so we'll probably wrap it up in a minute, but have you noticed anything strange about Eric Tate on the last several Penguin Live lectures,
Including mine?
including yours? We're gonna bring it up in this Magic Martini Monday coming up with Adam
So,
Wilbur. Do you know?
I watched your review on my lecture, and I noticed you mentioned something. But I mean, can you give me a hint? Like,
I can give you.
Okay.
I can give you.
So in our wait. So in our previous Magic Martini Mondays, we used to do this segment called Our Final Thoughts, in which we critiqued Dan Harlan's fashion sense, right? And so we were going to do it for Eric as well.
We're going to call it our Tate take.
Our Tate. A Tate take.
the Tate. Okay.
Yeah. So our take on Eric Tate. Yeah.
However,
I don't know. I don't watch. Yeah.
Go. Tell me your
No.
thing.
Yeah, so we did like 2 or 3 where we were reviewing his fashion, and then we kind of noticed that he wears the same thing every lecture.
Oh,
Purple shirt and purple tie every lecture. And it's the same purple shirt and the same purple tie every lecture.
And it was one of those things, my first thought was maybe they record a few of them on the same day, and then I went, well,
And they were like, no, because it was
the
5
last
hours.
2 or 3 is like 18 hours worth of lectures.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's doing 18 hours a day, but anyway. I mean,
No,
if that's how he wants to
it was a
present
very-
himself, all the power to him.
What's that?
Yeah, it was a very long day of filming, and so they only do it one at a time. But I don't know. I don't watch consecutively these lectures, but I don't know. But this was the first time I met Eric, and he was very nice. He was a great host. He asked great questions. Yeah.
Well, his
despite
podcast is
maybe
amazing.
he found that's the best colors that bring out his beard. I don't know.
Like I said, this is no critique on him as a person whatsoever. We just found it
We just thought it was funny.
interesting. Yeah.
We're just like, oh, they've taken our thunder.
Taking
We
our
can't.
segment.
We can't even do anything with that. What are we going to do? This week he wore a purple shirt and a purple tie. And this week he wore a purple shirt and a purple
That's
tie. So we're going to have to come up with something else now. But yeah, we just thought it was quite strange because I thought I was imagining it at first because we watch them every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks they release a new lecture and we watch it. And on the 4th week, I'm sitting there going, hang on a minute. He's wearing a purple shirt and purple tie again. He wore that last week. And I go, hang on a minute. He's worn that every week. And then we were waiting for this one to come out with Adam Wilbur. And I said, if he's wearing a purple shirt and purple tie, I swear to God, he doesn't change. And his lecture came out. We watched it last night. And I said, oh my God, it's the same outfit.
Well, that's funny. It gives you guys something to
Just
chat
something we
about.
noticed. And it means we need to come up with a new segment, and necessity is the mother of creativity. So,
Yes.
at least that'll give us something to work on.
That's funny.
So do you have anything coming up in the future that you want to share with our guests? Like, do you have anything online or?
Zoom shows seem to be popular these days.
What's that? It seems to be popular these days.
Zoom
Zoom
shows.
shows are popular. Do you have anything like that coming up?
You said what kind of shows?
Virtual Zoom online shows.
Yeah. No, I did a ton of them in 2020, and they've died off a bit. I did one today. No, was it today? Yesterday. I did one yesterday, and no, or was it today? No, it was today. I can't keep my days straight. I'm so sorry. So
That'll
I
happen
did,
sometimes.
yeah. I did
Lucky
one
he's
today.
incredibly good looking, otherwise he wouldn't get away with it.
That'd be funny if you showed up to a gig and they went, no, that was supposed to be yesterday. Where were you?
Oh, you should hear about this time that I showed up to a wedding on the wrong day. I wasn't performing. I was a guest there, and I'll just tell the story really quick. I was living in San Francisco, and I woke up that morning. I got all dressed up. I bought the presents, wrapped it all up, went all the way down to the venue, and I'm driving, and I could see off the freeway. I could see the chairs, everything's setting up, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm cutting it close. I better go quick. Rolled up, parked, got my gift, went, sat down, and I waited, and I looked around a little bit, and I was like, huh, I don't really see anybody that I recognize. I know it's been a few years, but that's weird. I go, oh, I didn't notice any of the groomsmen. I didn't recognize them. And then I was like, that's not the groom. That's not the bride. She's way prettier than that. I know that. And that, like, oh my God, I am at the wrong wedding. And in the middle of the ceremony, got up, grabbed my gift, ran. And I started asking the people who work there, I'm like, hey, do you know where the so-and-so wedding is? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe like another wedding venue. And so I call my friend. I'm like, dude, where is your wedding? And he's like, it's tomorrow. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
Wait, so you didn't notice the big sign at the front of the entrance of the door saying wedding of such and such?
I was almost late, Belladonna. So I was like rushing through, and it became a big joke. He called me over. He goes, dude, just come to my wedding rehearsal. And by the time I got there, everyone's like, I heard you went to the wrong wedding. I'm like, oh God.
Well, at least you got a good story out of it, and you weren't a day late.
Yes, better be early than late, I say.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyways,
All right.
what were we talking about? How did I get into that story?
I was asking if you had anything coming up that you needed to
yeah.
plug, and I don't know how we got into that story.
No,
from
we
there.
were talking about Zoom shows.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yes, I had one today, and then I think I have one end of next month and one in December. But really, I'm really pushing the in-person stuff, because that's kind of where it's at. I enjoy, this is my studio in the background. I enjoy the virtual shows, but in person, you just can't beat it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, it's quite deflating as a performer, I think, doing Zoom shows, especially like somebody like me who's never ever performed. Like, I don't do a lot of close up or anything, so a lot of my material is interactive on stage. It's not Zoom friendly sort of stuff, so I've had to redesign and go straight back to the drawing board with most of my stuff. It's not been fun, and there's not a lot of there's no energy with the Zoom. It's still fun, but it's not.
A man without an audience is just a man playing with himself.
Yeah.
No, that's I get it. It's not the same.
A man playing with his deck.
Yeah. I love with him my deck out on camera.
With his deck.
So hey, since you guys always share martinis, I thought I would share mine.
Yeah. What is it?
Uh-oh.
You froze.
You froze on me?
Yeah.
It must have been a daiquiri.
A daiquiri? No. You guys have gone frozen on my end.
That was the joke. You froze. So I said,
because it's
never
frozen.
mind. If I have to explain the joke,
He's so witty. He's got those dimples, and he's so witty.
He's incredibly clever.
I got the dimples, got the quick wits.
For his own good sometimes.
Unfortunately, only 5'7". I can't have it all.
But I thought I would share the martini that I had.
Okay.
All right.
So I love it. It's one of my favorites. It's called a paper plane. Are you familiar?
Oh yes, we do. Yeah, the purple plain ones along with the citrus decoration that they put on top. It's like it's got cinnamon in it, doesn't it? Orangey. What's it called?
I'm not sure. I think we
Yeah,
have
we know
tried
what
it
it
in
is.
the
Yeah, we
past.
have tried it before.
Well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Excellent. Well, then I won't waste your time with it, but it's
no,
delicious.
you can share it with us. I can't
Clearly,
remember
we
what
don't
it
remember
is.
it that well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's equal parts of bourbon whiskey,
Yep.
Aperol,
Yep.
a Nonino, and lemon juice. And you put it in a shaker and shake it all up. And typically, I think it's served in what they call a coupe. So it's kind of like a martini glass, but more rounded.
Yep.
But I do not have one, so I, place it in a martini glass.
Very nice. That's what we got the apple for, remember?
Yes.
Like, what's that? Because we went and bought like about $500 worth of alcohol. Because we went through a cocktail book one day and just went, we're going to try this and this and this and this and this. But we got to home and we couldn't remember what we were actually going to do it with. And so we've got that, what's it called? Aperol or Asperol? Yeah,
Aperol.
we got that. We couldn't remember what it was for. That's what it's for. The paper plane.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, it's in one
Yeah.
of our cocktail books. We'll find that and we'll do it on the next martini.
Because I'm a whiskey girl.
Hmm.
So we already had the whiskey. We just didn't have the other ingredients. So we picked that up. But yeah.
It's quite nice, and not many people know it, but I'm glad you guys do, and that's what I was enjoying tonight.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm glad you had a nice martini with us. Thank you so much for joining us. I will put your social links in the video when I upload it. Yeah, thank you so much. We hope you have a lovely night and keep in touch.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Likewise, guys. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. And I must say, I love what you're doing. I love the outfits. I love the martinis. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Derek. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
night.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Cheers.